Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG Build Guide Edition. Today I'm ready to drop on you my ultimate fire Necromancer. I've been asked over and over again to make a fire necro that can push corruption, that has more sustain, and today you are going to see this. As always, I will cover every single facet of the build. Everything is timestamped in the description below if you need to bounce around. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. Starting off with some gameplay. Now the skills I'm using for this build are Summon Skeletal Mage, Dreadshade, Drain Life, Summon Bone Golem, and Summon Wraith. Now Drain Life is the newcomer to this build. We are no longer using Summon Volatile Zombie. And Drain Life does something very interesting. It actually does a few things. When you cast Drain Life on your minions, which is how you want to do it, you are going to see your resistances and your armor go up. And which is awesome from a gear standpoint, because it's obviously going to give you more survivability, and you don't have to worry about resistances as much as suffixes on your gear. On top of that, Drain Life is a necrotic spell, which means you can now use Twisted Heart, and every single time you cast Dreadshade or Drain Life, it's going to give you some ward back. Not a ton. It's normally in the high hundreds, but again, when you're talking about sustain, you're going to be able to take that extra hit with the armor, with the resistances, with the ward. So we are going to be able to push higher corruption. Now, let's take this for a spin. And normally what I do with Wraiths now is they are stationary, which means they are little turrets. And what I will do is place the Drain Life, and then I will place the Wraiths on top of it. You can do it in kind of any order you want. You could put the Drain Life down first, then the Wraiths on top, or cast the Wraiths like this, and then put Drain Life on top of it. But basically, it's going to turn into a little fire beam. And Drain Life is going to keep my life up, and it's going to give us mana. Look at my mana. I'm going to use all of it. I'm just holding on Wraiths right now. And Drain Life is keeping it up. Look at how fast it goes up. Pretty cool. That was really fast. Let's do another one. And we're off. Now, something else different with this build is we are leaning into Armor Shred. And I can get 300 stacks of Armor Shred at the training dummy, which is normally what you will see if you were fighting a boss. So not only do we do much higher DPS, not only do we have more sustain, but we are also going to be shredding armor. So overall, it is a much stronger and better build, but there's a lot more setup time. So normally you're literally just casting Dreadshade and zombies, where now you're casting Dreadshade, you're casting Drain Life, and you are casting all the time your stationary Wraiths. So know that there is a lot more micromanaging with this build. But again, that's the trade-off if you want to push higher end content, which a lot of people do. Now we get to the end, and we just stand next to our Wraiths with our Drain Life. And again, we're just gonna kill everything. And if you didn't notice, also with this build, we are currently rocking 3 golems. Yes, we're using hollow fingers to ensure that we get that 3rd golem, which means we're gonna have more hunger. They're gonna leech more life for us as well. Okay, Shade of Oribus. Corruption level 206. Watch this. Look at his life. Can't even see it. Halfway gone. I'm just standing still. I'm not ducking and weaving. Look at that damage. Let me show you how to recreate this build. So now let's check out the skills for this ultimate fire necro, starting off with the newcomer Drain Life. And I'm going to show you the order in which you want to take the skills, and that'll be for all of them. Okay, I'm going to show you the order you want to take the skills. So for Drain Life, honestly, each direction is important, but you want to go left first. So you want 3 points into Empower Drain, 1 into Soul Blast, 1 into Hecatomb, and 1 into Necrotic Feast, okay? This is going to make it where basically you are going to be draining life from your minions, and you are going to get a boost in Health Leech from only being able to target your minions. Then you want to go right and up. And you want 3 into Thought Steal, 3 into Ravenous, 2 into Insatiable, 1 into Dark Shackles, and 2 into Enduring Night. This is going to make it where it lasts an extra 2 seconds, which is absolutely required. Then you want to come down, 1 into Condemnation, 1 into Contempt, and 2 into Enduring Contempt. If for whatever reason you have more points, so you've got 22, 23 points that you can spend, get Enduring Contempt to 3 or 4. I wish I can siphon off some point somewhere to add to here, but there's just no way to do it currently. And by the way, Contempt is what's going to give you your big armor boost, okay? Moving over to Summon Bone Golem. And right now we have 25 points into this skill. You want to go to the right first. You want AOR, then take 4 into Unnatural Seed, 1 into AOS, and 4 into Tower of Bones. This is going to give you your size and threat generation, so enemies fight your golems and not you. And remember, you're going to have 3 of them. Then you want to come down and get 5 into Hunger. This is going to make it where your golems are going to leech life back to you. They're going to leech life to themselves, and they're going to leech life back to you, which is going to be great from a sustain standpoint. Then you want to go right and get 5 into Charred Bones and 1 into Pyre Golem, because we are fire. And for this build, we are going to be using Ignite, but mainly our damage is going to be from crit as well. Okay. Moving over to Summon Wraith, our main damage dealer. For this, you want to go right first, and you want 1 point into Locus of the Resurrection and 1 into Locus of Death. This is going to make it where you have stationary, turreted wraiths that shoot fire. Okay. Then you want to come left, which is really the only way to go. 2 into Grave Reality, 3 into Delay the End, 1 into Spirit Link, 3 into Dawn of the Fall, 3 into Dusk of the Living. Then you want to come up, 4 into Wraithbringer. This is going to make it where you cast and mana efficiency is going to be cheaper. 2 into Flame Wraith, then come up as your final 3 points, 1 into Fallen Reclamation, and 2 into Covenant of the Souls, which is going to make it where you can make 8 total wraiths. Okay? Moving over to Summon Skeletal Mage, which I have played with a lot in this build to figure out the right combination. Okay, what you want first is to go left, because really what you care about at the beginning is having that movement skill over damage and them being a powerhouse. So you want 1 into Spirited Dominion, 2 into Speed, 2 into Frenzy, 1 into Arcania, 1 into Grave Passage, and 3 into Death's Cavalry. This will make it where you basically get a free movement skill, and unequivocally, in my opinion, the best movement skill in the game, because you can cut corners, you can go down ledges, and you can go up ledges. Trust me, if you used this version of Transplant and then you went and used like Teleport, you would see why this is so superior. Okay, then you want to come down. You want 4 points into Cellar Mortis, 1 into Order of Death, gives you an extra mage, 1 into Grey Merchant, 1 into Pyromancers, and 1 into Inferno. This makes it where now all your mages are fire. Your last 5 points are going to give a big boost to base damage for your mages, and that is Grave Tide. Last but not least, Dreadshade, which actually does have a little bit of a change for this build. You want to come down first. Then you want 4 into Spectral Presence, 1 into Lone Watcher, 3 into Dying Coven, 4 into Grim Fate, and 1 into Symbolic Apparition. Then you want to come up and around. 3 into Wisdom of Death, 1 into Martyrdom, 1 into Dread Plague, and 3 into Flesh Harvest. Increase the buff effect per 3%, excuse me, missing health. So what that means is that as your wraiths are losing life, your Dreadshade is actually giving them more damage. This one took me a while to figure out. I was like, oh, and then I tested it and it totally works great. Those are the skills. Moving over to the passives for our ultimate Fire Necro. And right now we are level 100 and we have every passive point from the campaigns. We have the maximum amount of points. Now, for this, I am again going to show you the order in which you want to take them, okay? The order in which you want to take your passives. And for the base tree, it's very easy, 22 points. 8 into Forbidden Knowledge, 5 into Dark Rituals, 8 into Stolen Vitality, and 1 into Soul Aegis. That's it, okay? That is it. Now, depending on where you are at, if you are already in end game, okay, if you're already in end game, go over to Lich and put 5 into Apo so that you unlock Drain Life. But if you are leveling this from the campaign, you can do this later on because you're not going to be using Drain Life during your leveling process anyways, okay? So for you, that is a personal preference. This is how you unlock Drain Life, 5 points into Apo, okay? Now, as you proceed through here and up, all of this will be taken in order, and then the difference will be up here in the last section. So you want 8 into Elixir of Hunger, 8 into Risen Army, 3 into Cursed Blood, 1 into Blood Armor, 6 into Mortal Tether, 8 into Aegis Fall. This is where you're going to get your 300 stacks of Armor Shred from your minions, and 1 into Unbound Necromancy. Now again, we are using 3 golems in this build. So you do need to take both passive points for your Necro, okay? You then, once you get to the top up here, you actually want to take these 4 first. So you want 3 into Tyrant, 1 into Tyrant's Legion. Then you want to come here and take 5 into Effigies. And then you want to come around the outside. Okay, come around the outside. Don't go through the middle. 5 into Frantic Summons, 5 into River of Bones, 10 into Heresy, 3 into Blades of the Forlorn, 3 into Rite of Undeath, and 1 into Disciplines of the Necromancy. This is going to make it where you can have 5 skeletal mages then, okay? Then your then you want to put 5 points into Veins of Malice. This is every time you cast your spell, which Dreadshade or Drain Life, you're gonna trigger Frenzy and Haste on your minions. And then your last 10 points, you're just gonna boost up your base fire with Moonlight Fire. Those are the passive. Moving over to everyone's favorite section, which is of course gear, starting with idols. Now idols have not changed at all for this build. You want 4 idols that give to minion fire damage, okay? So I've got a 70, a 70, a 57, and a 59. I have found some that are higher than 59 and 57, but this one gives physical resistance. This one gets less damage over time, so I'm taking the little extra survivability instead of the little bit extra damage. You then want to find your idol that gives Summon Flame Wraith instead of normal Wraith, so Flame Wraith 55% chance, and also 4% chance to mark death on hit. That 4% chance turns into a guaranteed hit because you hit so often. And then your other idol, you also want to summon Flame Wraith so that you can get it over 100%, so it's always fire. And on this one, I have increased critical strike chance, okay? Now, looking at the gear, this build has now broken the record for the most uniques I use on a build. It is currently using 7. So this is not a starter build by any means, okay? If you want to make the Ultimate Fire Necro, you are going to have to work for it. And I'm literally just going to go through each item one by one so you can see it. All right. Helmet, Vitality, Summon Bone Golem, and you want it to have the base of minion spell damage, okay? Very important. We are using a Death Rattle, and I was able to get a tier 6 increased minion damage on this. Right, we are using Dragon Flame Edict as well, since this is fire, but the Ignite is going to add still a lot of damage, but really what you're looking at is that minion fire, and we will talk about this staff in a second. I'm then using Aaron's Will. This is going to give us our 3 golems, which is going to give you a ton of sustain, and they're going to generate a lot of threat to keep you alive. In order to get those 3 golems, I have to use 2 Hollow Fingers. This one has a tier 6 minion damage and physical resistance on it, and my other one also has a tier 6 minion damage on it. Belt, we're just using minion, crit avoidance, and endurance. We do have Raven's Rise, which is going to give us an additional 2 minion skills, and your minions are going to take less damage. This also has a tier 6 minion damage on it. Boots, Life, Intelligence. I would love to have movement speed on here. For now, I am taking the damage. And last but not least, Newcomer, which is Twisted Heart, which I need to turn into a legendary. This is going to give you your ward for the build. Now, before we move off gear, I want to talk about the Dragon Flame Edict staff. Technically, this build is not designed around Ignite. This build is designed around crit and crit multiplier for your minions. That is why we're getting these huge damage numbers. But of course, it's still fire, so Ignite is still going to do a lot of extra damage. What you want, and so far I have 5 unsuccessful crafts. So far, I have not been able to do it. But what you want is a Dragonflame Edict staff like this that has 1 legendary potential on it, and you need to try and transfer over a minion spell damage. So this one's 364, which is a tier 7, but it's a low rolled tier 7. If you can transfer over a 350 to 450 minion spell to your Dragonflame Edict, it's over. It's over. You're going to be a monster. And honestly, if you just had a good staff that had minion spell, minion melee, and cast speed on it, for this build, it is probably better than the Dragonflame Edict. But the best would be to combine them. You'd literally be unstoppable. All right? Check out the advanced build planner, which shows you if you could even get half as close to that build, it'd be awesome. Now let's check out our character sheet. Like I said, I'm currently level 100, 15 points of strength, 44 into intelligence, 29 into vitality. One of my most embarrassing stats is my movement speed, 17%, but obviously we traverse the world through our skeletal mage pre-transplant skill. Now resistances aren't good. Necrotic is maxed, lightning's almost maxed, physical's almost there, and void. But remember, through using drain life, your resistances in your armor are going to be improved, and you're going to be able to max all of your resistances. So just keep that in mind. Defenses, endurance is at 46%. I currently don't have the endurance blessing. I have minion damage. I'm going to switch that for more survivability. Crit avoidance is at 104, 105, which is great. And then the most impressive part of this build is looking at our minion damage. Overall minion damage is 666. I know, not a very good omen. And when you come down here and look at increased minion fire damage, yes, that number is correct. It is 1,214. It's 1,214 to minion fire. And imagine if I was able to transfer this staff onto it. Imagine if I was able to transfer this staff onto it. That is going to be an additional minion spell of 364. So again, now with minion spells up to 1030 and minion fires up to 1017, you're talking over 2,000. And it would be even higher because this has up to 200 fire. Get the point. It's a lot of damage. Now, the reason why I've been working on this new Fire Necro is because I get asked over and over again about sustain, how to stay alive, how to push corruption with this build. And this build has 4 ways to sustain your health and your ward. We're gonna go through them right now. Starting out with effigies. Effigies basically consumes a minion while at low life, and it brings you back to life. So it gives you a big boost in health. Now, this can be a blessing and a curse because every once in a while it'll consume a golem, and then you gotta recast your golem. But all in all, effigies is a source of sustain. Also, like I said, inside of the Summon Bone Golem tree, one of the main sources is going to be hunger. Now, hunger is going to give you about 70 health every single time one of your golems hits. And it's going to heal you, and it's going to heal the golem. And remember, you're going to have 3 of them, which means 210 health is going to be coming back to you over and over again as your golems attack. On top of that, you have the newcomer Drain Life. And again, Drain Life is going to be cast on your minions, and it's going to give you tons of life and mana back. And to look at the 3 nodes, you have 50% increased leech rate, plus 21% increased leech rate, plus 24% increased leech rate. That's 95% more increased leech rate that Drain Life is going to do. All right. So those are 3 sources of sustain, but we still aren't done because again, we are using Twisted Heart with this build, which means when you cast Drain Life and Dreadshade, you are going to get a burst of ward. And check this out. I'm just going to spam them for a second. Take a look at my ward. And again, I know it's not a ton, but it is some. So if you're spamming these, and obviously I'm killing my golem right now through Drain Life, you saw that you can get in the 2, it might have hit 3,000, I don't know, high 2,000s as far as ward. But again, you are going to have a high sense of sustain with this build. Last but not least, let's talk about leveling. Okay, Aaron, this is great. I want to make an ultimate Fire Necro, but how do I get it from level 1 to level 100? Great question. Getting through the campaign with the Necro is so easy because your minions are going to do all the work. So these are the skills you want to take in order. The first skill you want to put right here that you are going to specialize in is Summon Skeleton. And inside of Summon Skeleton, you want to come to the left first. So 3 points into Unholy Rage, 1 into Lone Guardian, and 1 into Mightier Than the Sword. This is going to remove your warriors so that you have archers. You want archers for your skeletons. Then you come down here, Necrotic Conviction and Hollow Walkers, so that you have an extra skeleton, okay? So basically your skeletons will be behind you and they'll just be launching arrows. Second skill you want to take is Summon Volatile Zombie. And this is going to be the one that you're casting over and over again. And what you want to do is come up first. So 2 into Forceful Commanders, 1 into Daunting Blast, 1 into Ravenous, and 2 into Pull of the Grave. Because these are going to be a good source of damage and they're going to give you a kill threshold. So basically you're only going to have to do 84% damage to the enemies to kill them, which is great, especially for bosses. Third skill you're going to want is Summon Bone Golem, of course, because you're going to need that tank as you traverse through the campaign. And what you want to do is come down first, put 1 into AOS and 4 into Tower of Bones. And then basically you want to come down and just take this tree. And what's great about Summon Bone Golem is basically you're going to get it at the beginning and you're going to be able to take it all the way through end game, so you're never going to have to spec out of it. Now the fourth skill is this is the one that's a little tricky, is that Transplant. You're not actually going to spec into Transplant ever, okay? But you are going to leave them down here on your bar. Even though you're not spec'd into Transplant, you can still use it. So you will have your skeletons, you'll have your zombies, you'll have your golems, and then you will have your Transplant on your bar, so you can still teleport around the map super quick without having to actually spec into it. With those 3 skills and Transplant, you will fly through the campaign, and if you have access to leveling uniques, all you need is a Reach of the Grave, which is this wand right here. I know some people that literally use this wand all the way till level 100 because it can be so good. That is how you level. All right, everyone, that's the build guide. What do you think of my new and improved Ultimate Fire Necro? Is there something I missed? Is there something I could do to take this to the next level? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. 2 asks at the end of the video. Ask number 1, I'm hoping today is the day I have earned your subscription. Hoping today is the day you make the decision to push that little red button. I would really appreciate it. But again, only if you think I deserve it. Because if I haven't, I'm gonna work harder for you. Ask number 2, check out my Patreon. Thank you to the first 66 members that have signed up. Become an instant ARPG VIP and get Patreon exclusive content. We have a VIP lounge in the Discord where we could chit chat every single day. You have a chance to win custom merch. You get a special title in the Discord. You have the ability to stream with me audio and video weekly. All you got to do is request it. We also do a bonus hour on our podcast every single Wednesday night on the Aaron Action RPG VIP YouTube channel, where I'm going to have exclusive Patreon content, starting with my studio tour. Lots of good stuff happening in the background. So excited for the partnership with Icy Veins, which I'm now signed with, which is also very exciting news. That's all I've got. Hopefully you were entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.